Hi everyone and welcome to Horologique. Today I am very happy to be reviewing the Exciton Watch, and this is a collaboration between JF Watches. The guy that designed this watch is called James. Cronos Watches, which have actually built the watches on the recommendations of James, but also of Gary from I Like Watches channel, YouTube channel. And if you have not seen his channel, of course, go ahead and check it out. I'm going to be leaving a link to his channel below. And also remember to subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so. And when I do reach 2,000 subscribers, I'm going to be giving away a wonderful watch, Steel Dive 1970, which is a homage of the famous Seiko 6105 Willard. So come and subscribe to the channel to be able to join in that giveaway. Okay, with that being said, let's get back to the Exciton Watch, and this is going to be a pretty quick video because it's not a full review. It's a first impressions video. A little bit extended though, because we are going to be seeing the Lume, we're going to be seeing the accuracy report. I will be doing the full review at a time later, so we can all go ahead and check those super macro shots and those comparisons of the Lume and everything that we like. Let's start with the dimensions. And the watch is indeed 38 millimeters in diameter, only 10.8 millimeters in height, so nice and slender, really slender for a 200-meter water-resistant watch. That is a very positive point. And it has a log-to-log of only 44 millimeters, and that is wonderful. And that is in part due to the angled construction of the log. See how they angle downwards. And the log width is a cool 20 millimeters, which means that you will be able to fit all those NATOs and even those metal bands that you have lying around. So that is wonderful, great dimensions for this watch. And I'm going to show you how it fits. And here it is on my 6.5 inch, 16.5 centimeter wrist. And as you can see, it fits wonderfully thanks to that slender construction, to that very, very short log-to-log, and of course to that very reduced diameter of 38 millimeters. So wonderful and very nice, very comfortable on the wrist. So continuing with the dial, I'm going to try and zoom in so you can see, but the dial has a very nice textured construction, and this reminds me of when you zoom in a usual matte dial, you will see these kind of pattern. But here it is much more pronounced. So, well, that is, if you like it or not, that is pretty good. On top you've got JF, James, who designed this watch, and his last name finishes by F, I don't know what it is. You can see that you've got the 12, 6, 9 numerals that are very big on the dial, and at 3 you've got the date wheel, courtesy of the Miyota 9015 movement. And you can see that that date wheel is framed by a lumed frame. Alright, and at the bottom of the dial you've got the Exciton written in violet, and below you've got the 200 meter, which is the depth rating for this watch. That means that you can swim, you can even shallow dive with it. So that is wonderful. And you've got buttons at every other 5 minutes. The style of hands, they're pretty simple. I would say. The hour and minute hand are just buttons, large buttons, as you can see, but they hold a pretty good amount of lume, so the lume should be good. And the second hand is a bit original, let's say, because it has a kind of a lance construction on the whole part, but at the beginning, so at the counterweight, instead of being full like some other watches, it is all the way shallow. It's only a ring actually, which is, well, which depends on what you like, but it's, again, I have never seen this before and it's really original, so that is nice. Let's continue, and let's continue to move outwards, and you've got a brushed rehot. Nothing special about it, but it's pretty well done. The brushing is very good. And you've got the lumed sapphire bezel insert, in which every second is graduated and lumed, of course. Every white part that you see on that black bezel insert is lumed, and we will see the lume shot afterwards. And protecting that dial, you've got a piece of flat sapphire crystal. I've been following every step of the designing and construction of this watch through the I Like Watches 2 channel, and I know that at some point James and Gary were trying to do a dome sapphire crystal, but that would take the price too high. Alright, and I have mentioned price here, so let's talk about price. So this watch was $200, and that is a bargain for a watch which has a sapphire crystal, which has a ceramic bezel insert, which has this kind of construction, and which has the Miyota 90-15 movement. Let's talk about the 90-15 movement. It's a wonderful movement. It's the equivalent of a 28-24 movement. It beats at 28,800 beats per hour, and it's pretty reliable, and it's pretty well regarded. It's a pretty well regarded movement. It's considered an upgrade from the classic NH35, and it's of course much more expensive. So it's wonderful that they have packed this movement in here while keeping the price down. And I am glad to be one of the 100 recipients of this watch, because it was a very, very limited run, which they sold at cost. So I'm glad that I could just snatch in there and order mine. That was wonderful. And Gary was so nice as to give me the 81st of 100, 81 being my year of birth. Thank you so much for that, Gary. Wonderful. And as you can see, we have seen the back of the watch. And in the back of the watch, well, you first have to know that James is some kind of a scientist. I don't know exactly what he does, but this is a conversion table. The back of the watch is polished. It is mirror polished. Polished metal scratches really easily. But actually the good news is that it is the only polished part of the watch. All the rest of the watch, all the rest of the case is brushed. The sides of the case are very finely brushed. The front of the lugs is also brushed. The crown is signed also. And on the case you've got drilled lugs, which helps a lot with changing straps, so that is excellent. And as you can see, you've got the bezel itself is pretty tall, so this should make turning that bezel very easy. Let's go and let's find out how the bezel turns. And as you know, this is a telltale sign of quality for a watch, at least according to me and according to Gary as well. So I am sure that he has paid special attention to it. Let's see. Yes, it is very firm, very clicky. Listen to that. no backplay. Once it sets in place, no backplay. People might even complain that it's a bit too hard to turn. I don't see any misalignments here. See, I've put the triangle and I try to line it up with the 5 baton, but it doesn't. It does look lined up, so that is wonderful. I know Gary, being a watch enthusiast, will have left clear instructions regarding that. And Gary is kind of a Lume freak as well, so the Lume should be really good. Let's find out. Yes, as expected, the Lume is wonderful. Those hands shine the brightest. That is the most important part for legibility's sake. And as you can see, those numerals and those indices are shining a bit weakly. I wouldn't say they are weak, but they're not as bright certainly as the rest, as the hands, for example. That Lume bezel insert is also pretty good, but I think it'll fade. Maybe it'll not fade as quickly as the numerals though, as the dial, because that seems to be fading already. And that has an explanation that Gary gave us. It's that they tried to put 15 layers of Lume there, but given the construction of the dial, it would crack, so they could only put 8. Now take a look at that. Isn't that perfect? 0 plus 1. Wow, I am really impressed. So, first impressions. This is a pretty impressive watch. You can see that it was made by someone that appreciates watches and that appreciates a good valued watch. And I believe that this watch has everything for itself. On that regard, there are some aspects of the design that I'm not so keen on, and we'll talk about those on the full review. But overall, just objectively, this is a very good watch for a wonderful price. And I know that JF watches are going to be releasing a second version of this watch. And please, if you're interested in that, contact Gary. I will leave his email address below, so you can tell him that you're interested in the second version of this watch that I believe is going to be funded through Kickstarter. Don't forget to subscribe to participate in that giveaway. Remember that many reviews are coming. Check my previous reviews as well. I've got a lot of watches there, from homages to actual Rolexes to Zelos to Seikos and everything in between. So go ahead and check that. In the meantime, I will be coming back to you with more videos. If I don't see you before the end of the year, have a great one, and I'll be seeing you very soon.